better as a result of social media presence.
If it doesn't do those three things, then it's on the chopping block.
It's a return on investment discussion.
Oh my goodness, it's Black Friday, everybody. What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host, Sam Dark. And today is the day. It's the day we train for, the day we caffeinate for. It is Black Friday today. The Super Bowl of retail in America, and that includes Automotive, November 28th. Only 2 selling days left for many of us in the month of November, 3 if you're open Sunday. And you choose, thanks for choosing to spend part of it here with us at the Daily Dealer Live. That's commitment, that's community, and that's why our industry wins. Now, let's make this show interactive today. What does your Black Friday look like? What's your store doing right now? What's your best deal, your craziest deal, your biggest win so far on this Friday? Drop it in the comments. We're posting the hottest ones straight into the show. But first, let's dive into today's auto industry headlines. All right, here's a big one in the M&A world. Penske Automotive Group has officially sold Hyundai of Noblesville, Indiana, to the Gurley Leap Automotive family. Deal closed November 24th per the Presidio Group. Now, what's interesting here is the timing. The Penske is stepping out just 3.5 years after acquiring the store from Terry Lee back in May of 22. That's quick for a group like Penske. On the flip side, Gurley Leap is playing a very intentional game. Seems they've already got deep operations in Indiana, and Mike Leap Jr. says this move's all about tightening the footprint, building density where they already have strength. Smart play. Zoom out, and this is exactly the kind of deal fueling the white-hot M&A cycle. Right now, George Carolis from the Presidio Group says both buyers and sellers are swarming the market, and that churn is creating a steady flow of opportunities for regional operators who can move fast and absorb stores inside their core territories. And hey, if you want to track deals like this all year long, you know where to go, cdgbuysell.com. And our jingle, of course, makes us happy. All right, next up, let's talk trucks, because a new S&P Global Mobility report breaks down just how critical this segment is to U.S. auto retail. Half-ton pickups alone account for 8.2% of all new vehicle sales through August, and that's only part of the story. Those same architectures also power 3/4-ton and 1-ton heavy-duty trucks. That's another 3.4%, and full-size SUVs, 3.6%. You add it all up, and this ecosystem represents around 15% of the entire U.S. market. Not only volume, but margin. Half-ton profits start around $10,000, and heavy-duty trucks or full-size utilities can hit $30,000 per unit. What's the bottom line here? This limited cluster of trucks and utilities basically funds the modern dealership, and loyalty is consolidating around just a handful of nameplates. Competition is tightening, stakes are rising, and whoever controls the truck buyer controls the profitability of the entire store. Next up today, here's a wake-up call coming out of the ISAC annual Cybersecurity Conference. The modern connected car ecosystem now produces hundreds of digital touchpoints, building a virtual perimeter that's massive. It's hard to map and growing faster than most organizations realize. And here's the part that should catch every dealer's attention. Most of the software and API connections inside a dealership don't come from the OEM. They come from third-party vendors. That means limited visibility, more unknown vulnerabilities, and a rapid expanding attack surface. Security experts warn that bad actors are already using AI to find weak spots, while many automotive companies are also rushing AI tools into their operations without putting the proper governance, validation, or cybersecurity scaffolding underneath. What's the guidance for dealers heading into 2025? Well, narrow the scope. Validate every AI tool before deployment, and don't assume any vendor is handling security for you unless you've confirmed it. This is becoming a board-level topic, and auto retail is right in the blast radius. Next up, big drama brewing in Washington. Senate Republicans want the CEOs of GM, Ford, Stellantis, and Tesla in front of a committee in January to justify whether federally mandated safety features are actually making cars safer or simply making them more expensive. We're talking about automatic emergency braking, rear seat reminders, and the stack of features regulators want baked into every new car. What's the context? Well, the average new vehicle price today is sitting at about $50,000. That's up from $38,000 during the COVID era. Some lawmakers point to federal mandates as part of that inflation. Critics say this hearing could dial back support for safety tech that automakers and regulators have treated as, quote, standard equipment for years. And the real takeaway for dealers? This is the opening shot in what's becoming a bigger battle over what safety features should be mandatory, how much technology customers must pay for, and how these decisions impact pricing, supply chain, and compliance going on into 2026. Keep an eye on this one, because where Washington lands certainly will ripple through product planning, inventory mix, and retail pricing for years. And that is a wrap on today's industry news. Yuli, what's up? Happy Black Friday.
Hey, happy Black Friday. Big day today.
You know, it is a big day, and we are getting right to it. Only 2 days left in the month of November, and so many in American retail make their year between November and Christmas. Automotive, we do typically very well, although weather certainly impacts things depending on where you live and where you sell. But today is a big day in automotive retail regardless, and that will extend into the weekend. And then, of course, traditionally a heavy selling time is that time between Christmas and New Year's as well. So couple comments from the, thank you, Yoga Cars and others, for saying no audio. I had just a Black Friday moment there at the very beginning. So thanks to everybody's patience through that. And Yuli, today's the last day of No Shave November. I caught the last day of it. That's all I did. So I thought I'd please you. I'd get the audience and yourself going.
And it's the last day for CDG Circle signups.
And it is. That's absolutely true. Where do you go if you want to sign up for CDG Circles, Yuli?
We got cdgcircles.com.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, and they start up next week. So if you want to take advantage of that, we'd love to have you in there. They go live next Thursday. So signups officially closed today. It was extended 48 hours. The circles will go live next Thursday. So if you're not involved in that, go to cdgcircles.com to learn more and become part of that. And then just as a reminder, we're streaming today on this Black Friday across all the CDG social media platforms. We'd love to have you comment in social media. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what you're doing on this Black Friday. And hopefully we've got some cool success stories of Black Friday conquests. But as we're getting to that, let's go straight to our first guest today, Nolan Brink, multi-store general manager at Jim Shorkey Auto Group. Nolan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We're pumped to have you, and thanks for joining us this busy Friday, this Black Friday, between as we get ready. Yes, it's interesting. On Wednesday we had our special Thanksgiving Day episode, and everybody talked about what they're grateful for. And then I think the great irony of American Thanksgiving is the very next day we go out and just buy, right? Thank goodness we do, because in automotive we need that. So tell us, if you would, Nolan, how's biz, and tell us a little bit about yourself as part of that.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with a little bit about myself. So I've been in the industry since, call it 2010. Came up on the variable side, started selling cars, worked into sales manager, finance manager, general sales manager, overseeing multiple stores for the Cochran Auto Group. And then I ended up moving down to Florida and worked for the Morgan Auto Group as a corporate used car director and general manager in Sarasota. And then, due to family reasons, moved back to Pittsburgh. I work for the Jim Shorkey Auto Group. I oversee the Kia store in Wexford, which the past 3 years, it's been the top volume store in the state. And this year we have 2 locations in Youngstown, a Chrysler and a Mitsubishi store that really they're an overhaul project that I'm working on right now. I would say business overall is decent. We all got spoiled during COVID with just some amazing business times. And, right now we have to put forth a little bit more grit. But yeah, I'm grateful to be here on Black Friday. It's one of the most sought after days of the year, short of that last week of December, like you talked about, or a Saturday in the middle of, July. It's really hard to beat Black Friday. And, typically the fall, you see that seasonality that at least on the sales side that comes about. So it's good for the team. It's a great morale booster. It gives you something to talk about all month long, really pump the customers up, bring them in. And then, we're heading into the, the time of year where there's always a peel back in sales for the most part.
Don't say that. Don't tell anybody that. It's not supposed to be out there, Nolan. We're not talking about that.
It's not, but it gives us a time to really dive deep.
Figure things out.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this before we go into some of the seasonality, right? So your highest volume in your area, Kia dealer. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's interesting. Then you mentioned, hey, I'm working on these two projects, Stellantis and Mitsubishi. So you've got like the tale of two OEMs right now, right? So what's one lesson you learned in bringing Mitsubishi to be the number one in your area that you're implementing at Stellantis and Mitsu?
Yeah, so Mitsubishi isn't number one. Kia.
Yeah. One lesson from Kia that you're bringing to Mitsu and Stellantis.
The biggest lesson that I've taken away is, it's something that I've known, but it's all about leadership. And I'm very fortunate and blessed. We just had Thanksgiving, but I'm just so grateful for the team that I have at my Kia store. And, we've taken some time to really build it and find the right people and coach and train and develop. We have countless hours in training at that store. And whether I'm at the store or not, I know that the leaders are going to operate the same way. I know that there's a training schedule that's happening, and day in and day out, it's happening. When I came to Youngstown, it was, in some cases, what I don't want to do is I don't want to say that they weren't doing things, because they were. It's just, you can do things two different ways and get two different results. So just really focusing on building up the leadership team, and then creating that culture where, we're focusing on building the leadership, and the leadership's focusing on building up the next level, and just having that growth mindset in every position in the dealership. And, if you walk into my store in Wexford at the Kia location, no matter what position you talk to, someone's training on getting better. And we're working on, building that out here in the Youngstown area as well.
All right. So when you say training to get better at a Kia store, and then you're going to take that to Stellantis and Mitsu, is there a particular process? Is there a program? Is there a methodology that you're using at Kia that you're going to say, hey, I'm going to implement this in Stellantis and I'm going to get a similar result there?
Absolutely. So I start with the leadership team, and, it takes time to observe and watch and really get feedback. I think feedback loops are very important. And sitting down with the team members and assessing, what are you good at in terms of your leadership skills, your communication skills, your problem solving capabilities, your strategic thinking. Marketing seems to be, a heavy touch point where, if you can coach and train on how to manage your inventory and tie it into marketing, you can get a pretty decent lift fairly quickly. That was one thing that I did take. I, worked with my general sales manager here right whenever we got here on inventory management and marketing and how they tied together, and how you can dig for the data and use data analysis for what is the correct types of units to stock based on what people purchase in your PMA. Maybe you haven't sold it, but if others have, there's a stocking issue. And then based on what people are buying and what packages they're buying locally in your area, how do you build out your incentives that you're going to give to the consumers? And then also really understanding your demographic, pulling market data. If you're in a credit challenged area, does it make sense to put out a ton of lease offers, maybe in terms of showing a payment? But if you know that you're going to be doing heavy retail, then you go to your specials page. Is it all lease? That's typically a challenge.
So Nolan, a question from our audience. So Peter Caruso says, I hope to hear about metrics used in training and coaching. So when you talk about creating that culture through training and accountability, is there a certain amount of time spent training? How do you measure as a leader that you're getting that result and that the training is consistently happening? What metrics are you turning to?
So in terms of the accountability for training, we set up, there's a training schedule every single week. So I'll give you an example. So every day whenever, the day starts at 9 o'clock, we have everyone go out and start handling leads immediately. At 9:30, we'll pull the sales team together for a sales meeting, and we'll have a quick touch point on training. Then every Friday, we know that we have a full entire staff. So we have a midday right around lunch training session. And at the beginning of every month, what we'll do is we'll list out, the first week, the second week, the third week, the fourth week, which manager is going to be doing training, what they're going to be doing training on. And the managers need to actually put together what their plan is for the training and have it approved. And that's for the sales team, for example. And every month it's going to be different. You're going to look at the beginning of the month and say, okay, well, these are our areas of opportunity. These are our gaps versus what we're benchmarking. This is what we need to focus on. So we have.
All right. So in this month, tell us November 2025, Black Friday. If I was at your Stellantis store, what are you training on? What's the gap? What are you filling this month as you come into the winter months?
This month, our phone and our internet are slightly lower than usual.
Okay.
We've typically led the company. We have 20 stores in our company, and we've religiously led in closing for both internet and phone. And we've seen a slight decline in both. So, if you look at the training plan, it's a mixture of, one, how are we handling our phone calls? And then two, we do a lot of manager interaction. So once a salesperson doesn't set an appointment, we have to live turn it to a manager. So, training on that transition. And then in terms of the internet, it is, what is the quantity and what is the quality? Are we following the process in terms of quantity? And then what we are sending out, are we engaging in the customer the way that they want to be engaged?
Okay, so I want to move in just a moment to a change you recently made. You got rid of and eradicated the BDC. So I want to challenge that, talk a little bit about that. But before we do that, you talk about managers training with salespeople as an example. How do you as a leader know that the manager knows what the heck they're talking about when they're training salespeople? Because you can train and learn on something, but if it's the wrong thing, you're not going to get the result, right? So how do you test for that with your leadership team?
Yeah. So if I don't know, I don't let them run it. That's the very first thing. I'm not going to just shoot blind. And just to let you know, so as a company, as our company, I didn't personally get rid of the BDC. Our company did. Something we did a few years ago. And I've worked, when I worked at Cochrane, we had a BDC. We broke it down. It went into the store. When I worked at Morgan, we didn't have centralized BDCs, but some of the stores that I had an internal BDC. Some of the stores that I had did not. And then, we do not have a BDC currently, and it's working quite well. But back to your question about, how do I know if a manager is going to be able to give them the training that they need? So when I look at Kia Wexford, when I first got there, for instance, I ran all the sales meetings until I really understood what the strengths and weaknesses were of my sales managers. Yeah. And it takes time. You have to observe. You have to listen. You have to be able to pull the results. You have to know, okay, if I have a group of managers, what are the closing percentages based off of the managers? What is the gross on the front end per manager? What is the back end per manager? Are we measuring it? And do I know what managers should be touching the most deals and which ones shouldn't? And the one that shouldn't, what do I need to do with that person in order to help build them up to get them to where they need to be? And usually it's, setting the expectation, making sure that they have an outlined, clearly defined process, making sure that you go through it with them, help them side by side, get them to the point where they can coach and develop. And then whenever you do.
So when you talk about that though, you're running two very different OEMs, Kia, Stellantis, Mitsubishi, three. So let's say I've got a manager, Kia, success, Stellantis challenge, Mitsubishi maybe challenge. How do you as a leader know the difference between, hey, they know what they're doing and they can train, or they know what they're doing and they're executing well, and hey, boss, it's just a bad month because of snow, interest rates, politics, OEM, whatever. How do you glean the difference between things you can control and things you can't control?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers typically don't lie. You pull up the data. I mean, I lean heavily into data.
Yeah.
And you can say, yes, it's been a bad month, but in my role, it's my job to make sure that I'm setting the team up with inventory, leads. And if we have inventory and we don't have leads, do we have a merchandising issue?
Yeah.
I mean, you can usually you go through the 5 whys until you get to the root cause. The data will point you in the right direction. And then in terms of, if we're not getting the results and we have the leads, are we distributing our leads properly? Are we feeding the hot hand? Are we using the Moneyball approach? And then, the people that aren't the hot hand, what are we doing to train them? Or do we have available resources? And one benefit that I do have with having multiple stores, for example, I have the availability. It's only an hour and 15-minute drive between the 2 stores, but if someone's really struggling with an area and I know that I have someone who's excellent at it at a separate location, I can send them on a field trip for a couple days. I might not have time to do the training, but if I have an expert, I mean, my goal is to surround myself with people
Cross train. Yeah. Help the expert train the guy who's struggling, bring them up, right? Take away the uncontrollable excuse. All right. So going back to the BDC, because I'm fascinated by that, and then we'll go to some comments online because you're getting a lot of comments and feedback online. So would you defend getting rid of the BDC? Was that the right play? I know I'm putting you at odds with your auto group, but or do you think the BDC is helpful in today's marketplace? What advice would you give to dealers maybe considering eradicating BDC?
Yeah, so I've seen both options work well. The option that we have currently, it works well for us, and it doesn't mean that it's going to work well for everyone. Why
does it work well for you?
It works well for me because we have very high levels of manager involvement, and whenever I'm hiring a manager, one of the main things that I look at is, would I hire them as a BDC manager and would I hire them as a sales manager? And if they check both boxes, then I would hire them. And if they don't, but they have potential, maybe they're really good in one area, but they have potential in another. Okay, you just have a project on your hands. That's all.
I'm curious because those are 2 interesting qualifiers. What makes a great BDC manager and what makes a great sales manager? What are the differences between those 2?
There's not a ton of difference. A BDC manager is going to focus really heavily on accountability and being able to execute tasks. And your sales manager, they're going to typically be extroverted. They're going to have good leadership skills, good communication skills. They're going to have a results-driven mindset. And more often than not, if you're hiring from the outside and someone hasn't had big BDC experience, then they don't like leaning into, hey, I want to be super involved in every lead like a BDC manager typically would. But if I have someone who has the sales manager qualities, but also has the grit and desire to execute tasks, then you can hit a home run. So what we do, we do not have a BDC, but managers touch every lead at some point in time. If someone calls in and the salesperson doesn't set a phone appointment, they're doing a live TO with that customer. If we have a lead that we have not contacted within a certain time frame, it is the manager's duty to reach out to that customer. Or if we've engaged with a customer and we haven't set an appointment, the manager needs to have follow-up. So what I do is I break it down into buckets. The CRM that I have at Youngstown, for instance, they make it really simple. You have your
Who is that? What CRM is that?
Drive Centric.
Okay. Yep.
So their buckets, they have uncontacted leads, they have engaged leads, and then from engaged you have your showroom visits, and then you have your proposals, and then ultimately it ends up as sold. So when you look at it, I have multiple buckets, I have multiple managers. Every day I have a checklist with a box for sign off. All the managers come in, they have the huddle in the morning. They select, okay, I'm going to handle the uncontacted leads from yesterday. The next person might handle, these are the customers that we've engaged with, but we have not set an appointment for. Then the next person might be in touch with all the people that we did proposals for yesterday.
Yeah.
And we haven't closed up a deal. So we need to rework that deal.
I have a question here. How are you, I guess, if you could give us a top to bottom on how you're handling lead flow, because I guess the question I'm having with how you have it structured, and obviously it's working for you, is who's responsible for that lead until it gets turned over, right? So if you have a manager handling all of the unanswered or fresh leads as they come in, at what point do you hand it to the sales department? If you could just, give us that overview.
So it's actually reversed. It goes to the salesperson first.
Okay.
Salesperson's supposed to take a shot, take an attempt. And if they do not succeed, then it goes to a manager. So let's say, for example, if I have, total of 500 customers in a month at a store, I would expect a minimum of 500 follow-up attempts amongst the managers. However, for a salesperson, I have a follow-up process for if we haven't engaged with a customer, it's a new lead that came across, but we haven't made contact. So there's a process we follow for that. Once we have made engagement with a customer, now it moves into a different workflow. And then once we've set an appointment with a customer, a manager is going to confirm the appointment the day of, if the salesperson can. But then after we have an appointment, the customer comes in, let's say they don't purchase a vehicle, then there's a process for that as well. So there is a lot that the salespeople are doing. It's just the managers are constantly having accountability and trying to help assist with taking a swing.
So last question up today, and I do think the it's interesting. It's a manual process, what you're describing. There's a lot of hands on it. If you've got really great people, it works. Is there a role for AI and some of the automation that you're seeing in that process? And if so, what's that role? What's the product you're using, and how does that fit into your process?
So I currently do have AI with DriveCentric. I believe it's Chat GPT that they're using as their back end tool.
Yep.
And it works well in many scenarios. So when it works well is, let's say we're closed. It's after 8:00 at night. Someone puts in a lead. They're hot. There's AI automatically, trying to set an appointment for that customer. Yeah. Or let's say someone's off for the day. Everyone deserves a good work-life balance. If they're off and a customer isn't getting follow-up, they're going to, at that point in time, receive follow-up from AI.
Yeah.
And it's helpful. It has been beneficial. But one thing I've noticed with AI, it's not perfect. And I mean, neither are.
You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. It'll go off the rails, right?
But that's all the more reason why I like to have so much manager involvement and assessing what we're doing in the CRM, because I can't tell you how many times we've actually caught, a customer trying to set an appointment on a vehicle, that vehicle sold, and AI's response was less than desirable,
Yeah.
So
you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. We talk a lot on this show, Nolan, how with AI and technology, as a GM, you actually have to manage that AI tech almost like you do an employee, because it grows and it develops over time, and you've got to make sure that it's consistent with that culture you're creating within your group, and the voice matches and the approach matches, and that it's accurate data. Hey, interesting comment. Paul Salzman online says Nolan is proof of how important it is to have the data and know how to interpret the data. And we just appreciate you, Nolan, being on the show today on this Black Friday to celebrate Black Friday with us. How are your stores doing today? It's about 1:30 Eastern time right now. Do you know how the day's going sales-wise?
Yeah, so at Kia, we're set up for a pretty big day today. We actually we're doing a staffed event, which we don't do very often.
Okay.
I've had minimal success with some companies, but the one company that we used last year, we felt that the customer experience was good.
Who is that? Who's the company?
It was a recommendation from my Kia rep. I would have to pull up the company name.
It's okay. It's okay.
But anyways, they did a really good job with customer experience. And in the past, I've seen many times where the experience in CSI has just like dropped the floor.
Yeah.
So we wanted to give them another shot this year. And, we have a ton of appointments. They have, they were rolling as of noon. Here in Youngstown, we had a good day set up for appointments, showroom full of people. And I know we wrapped up a few deals here this morning, and we're working a few right now. So should prove to be a good day.
That's awesome. Well, Nolan, Brink, happy Black Friday. Thanks for joining the Daily Deal Live show today and sharing your perspectives on all things leadership. Good luck continuing the success at the Kia store. And then as you seek to grow Stellantis and Mitsubishi as well, we wish you the best of luck. We're excited to hear about it again in the future. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Data is so important, Yuli, and he showed it to us
Always.
today. Data is important, especially when you're trying to build success. And I'm always fascinated. Great leaders will own everything, and we talk about that a lot on the show. Subpar leaders will say, hey, you know what? The uncontrollables, hey, it's the OEM, it's the weather, it's the lead, it's the traffic, it's whatever. And truly, he is really honed in on those things you can control, which is the data in his world, and then grow from there. And it's fascinating. They're doing a staff sale on Black Friday. I always think that's interesting. What triggers, bringing people in from the outside? In our world, at Ziegler, we don't do that, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily not right. I think those things are fascinating. So, Yuli, let's talk Matador AI. Today's Black Friday episode is brought to you by Matador AI. Matador handles calls, texts, and follow-ups, so your team never falls behind. More appointments, less chaos. See the difference for yourself with a free demo at Matador.ai. And props to Matador for sponsoring the show today and supporting the content that Nolan Brink brought to us in that great conversation. Tale of 3 OEMs, his wins at Kia, and then how he's working hard with his leadership to turn the fortunes at Stellantis and their Mitsubishi store. So Matador AI, thanks for supporting the show. And you can scan the QR code. You can go to the link in the show notes, learn more about that. And Yuli, we always talk, there's not a lot of times left to talk about it, but if you haven't submitted your request to join us at NADA at the party there in Las Vegas, make sure you do that. So even though there's limited spots, you've got a good shot at joining us there in Las Vegas. It's going to be exciting.
Epic.
Let's dive straight into our final guest today on this Black Friday. And with a final reminder, pop in the notes where you are, where you're watching, what's going on. We'd love to know unit counts on the day and what your traffic looks like compared to a normal Friday. It's Black Friday, everybody. So joining the show, Matt Bennett, Vice President, Enrollment and Strategic Alliances, Northwood University, Michigan-based, very close to home here. Matt Bennett, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's a privilege to be here. Thank you. Happy Black Friday, or we kind of call it Blue Friday here, Northwood Blue, as we continue to build up as a sales organization as well, right? Having been America's Automotive University for nearly 6 decades, we understand, and it's in our DNA. So right there with your first guest, Nolan, in terms of being tenacious and providing an optimized customer experience. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Welcome. I was going to ask you a little bit about how busy is in your world, but you gave us a little bit. You can expand on it. When we were talking before the show started, you said you have some pretty interesting initiatives coming out. Why don't you peel back the curtain a little bit for our viewers?
Yeah, really, really excited. For those that don't know, Northwood was founded entrepreneurially as a school of business back in 1959. And shortly after that, the founders, Arthur Turner and R. Gary Stauffer, realized there was a disconnect in trying to develop leadership for automotive retailers. And so in the early 1960s, a school of automotive retail and programming began here at Northwood. So we have been in it since before it was cool, to quote it gently. But from that standpoint, we've been working with as basically the source of automotive retailers across the country and around the world. And the initiatives we've put forth as one of the only automotive retail undergraduate programs of study for dealership programs at a bachelor's level degree, as well as one of the only Bachelor of Business Administration programs for automotive aftermarket leaders. So with that, we've continued to build on those foundation and building blocks over the last 60 years. And we're excited for a relaunch for an innovative new MBA program, a master's program in business administration for automotive and mobility leaders across the country and around the world. So really excited about that. We've got some key alumni that have helped build that, and really excited to take to the next level here in January.
We got to ask. You have to divulge some of the alumni with us, but before you do, paint the picture for us. What does a Northwood grad bring into a store day one that a typical new hire just doesn't?
I get this question, Yuli, all the time, and I'm a former baseball player. Believe it or not, I've donated too many body parts to my alma mater, being a catcher for many, many years. But the analogy I provide folks is, and you can ask the employers, we just had 100 of them here about a few weeks ago, looking to attract and retain Northwood students. Day one, Yuli, they can play. They don't come to sit on your proverbial bench. They're conditioned. They get an opportunity to practice. They get an opportunity to sell. They're hungry. It's in their DNA to be entrepreneurial, right, at Northwood University, which of our founding fathers is America's free enterprise university as well. So from all of those things, they might not even be automotive inclined, but they might be a marketing student, a cybersecurity student, a finance student. These automotive companies that come on our campus come to pick those proverbial fruits and want them all because they can play day one, and they can put them somewhere in their organization to be successful. So that's the secret sauce here in Midland, Michigan, that people are more and more learning that is not so secret.
I love it. And you got to tell us some of the alums.
Yeah, I just actually was on a call the other day, wishing them a happy Thanksgiving. One of the founding members of this inaugural group, that when we launched this program in 2008, I was a young, scrappy director of graduate enrollment, and I had no business being a part of this program. But we launched what was the world's first executive dealership MBA program. And one of my first recruits was, many of you may know, is our chair of our automotive program here, LG Bright, who was with the OEMs with General Motors. He was my first recruit, and then helped with the rest of them. But Mike Cavanaugh is a dear friend and alum. Mike is a vice president at Lithia and Driveway. We've got Ben Pyle and Toyota North America down in Texas. Just the numbers continue to build out. David Robertson, the godfather of AFIP, for many know, from a finance and insurance professional standpoint. He was in that class. We've got Rick Leviton from Nissan. I mean, it literally, Gail Rubenstein with Retail Resilient. I mean, you literally have a proverbial Mount Rushmore of aspiring leaders, and they're really excited. They've been very helpful in helping relaunch this in January of 2026, as I've reached out to them over the last month or so. But we're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Yeah. And it's our opportunity to continue to raise that proverbial bar.
It's interesting. What would you say in automotive as a whole, it seems, is an industry where people can get into it without a lot of education, and they can have a lot of success, and props to everybody who does that, right? But what would you say to the individual that says, you know what, I don't need to go to school to learn this business. I can learn it live and in place. What would you say to that person? And if I'm a GM and I want to go through and get this additional education, is that a path? If I'm already, 30s, 40s, whatever, 50s, and I want to pursue an MBA through you, is there a path? I guess two questions there.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in the business of sales. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that, folks can have a tremendous career in the automotive retail industry without a formal education. But the trends and the tides are changing, because they also want the credentials based on the client and based on the validity, right? And the ability, whereas we're firm believers of iron sharpening iron, the ability to engage and build new skills and tactics and engagement. And moreover, building that network, right? I always tell folks, I mean, this industry is tighter than the 6 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon, right? It's about 1.5 degrees of separation. So it's about building that professional network. It's about developing and expanding skills. It's also about connecting the dots between sales, service, right? The fixed and variable ops bridge, building new initiatives with strategy, and learning from your peers. I mean, 20 groups are popular, not just because they get and hang out and have coffee. They build strategy. They share best practices. That's literally what we do in these types of programs. These are 20 groups whether you're an NCM or NADA affiliate, these are 20 groups on steroids where you're
Yeah.
building validity. You're really digging deeper to get problem-solving skill sets that are practical. And I think the unique thing is what we've done as America's Automotive University is we're using real-world statements. We're using real-world financials. We're using real dealership initiatives that you can fine-tune and apply and take back with you. This isn't about theory. This is about interacting and engaging each other to make your store more profitable, build better margins in your fixed ops departments, expanding your sales initiatives, and learning from your peers that, as I mentioned to you, those alumni from 15 years ago, they're just as popular now as they were 15 years ago, but they're fine-tuning their skills and building them accordingly.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, every education comes at a price, right? So whether it's formal or informal, an informal education in automotive might cost you a lot of mistakes, right? And a formal education in automotive might allow you to avoid those mistakes. I'm curious, what's the student body look like now, or what do you think it'll look like? Because I would imagine there's a lot of very successful operators in automotive that see the value of furthering their education, but are you seeing more people come in from outside of automotive that want to use this as the springboard?
That's a great question. I think it's a little bit of both. You've got an age of retailers, whether they're fixed, variable, service, that have been really, really successful. But now they're at a point where how do I continue to build on my skill sets? And let's be honest, some of it might be ego driven or personal achievement driven, where I was able to accomplish this in my retail automotive career, but personally, I never went back to school. We're seeing a lot of that where folks are in really successful roles across the country, and they want to complete that for themselves. Maybe it's to serve as a role model for their son, their daughter. Maybe it's to pass the proverbial torch to who's going to run the dealership next. I mean, what we find is really, as you all know, I mean, we've been branded as, Automotive University for years, where dealers' sons and daughters come to Northwood. We're seeing even gaps where sons and daughters don't want to continue on and take on the family torch. And so what we're finding is, building that example, building that, sense of being a role model, even for the son or daughter of the service manager or the parts technician who just bleed automotive, or if I cut them open, motor oil will pour out. It's building that ecosystem by which education is okay. But when you take the right kind of practical education with the experiential learning of working in a retail automotive dealership or in the industry at an OEM level, you're unmatched. You write your own ticket with that formal and practical experience that we fully endorse and build on. But to your point, Yuli, it's bringing in other people from non-automotive sectors too, because I was just with, I won't say who, but one of the largest automotive dealer groups in the world, and they're looking to do the same thing. How do we bring in really talented managers that are non-automotive and bringing them into our organization and leveraging their talents with just new eyes, right? We can teach them the retail business, but that point that Nolan mentioned earlier about leadership development, accountability, it's got to be transferable because most notably, it's got to be scalable.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so true.
That's the dirty word right now. That's the secret sauce is how do we scale with impactful people?
Yeah. So a couple comments from online. Our CDG's only Colin Kubik said online, as a NU student, I was sent to NADA 2 years in a row through the school before graduation. I can't tell you how valuable that was for a young lad. Good use of the word lad there, I suppose. So I do think like having that connection with other industry experts, I met Mike Kavanaugh in a former role, and he and I have had a relationship ever since where I'm able to text him, I can call him, we bounce ideas off of each other. That also is the power of an organization and education like Northwood, like NADA, like CDG circles, where you've got people to reach out to collaborate with, to ideate with on ways to accomplish what you're trying to do. You're not alone in your own store trying to figure out survival on your own. And that's a huge strength in our industry. Yeah.
Well, I think so. And the power of this industry, and having been fortunate enough to be working with automotive retailers and aftermarket executives for nearly 30 years. I mean, I feel blessed to be in this side of the house because it's almost as if we're Switzerland, because as you all know, the power of this industry is relationships.
Mhm.
The ability to connect those dots. And I mean, it's a great question by Colin, but and knowing Colin well, Colin, hello, if you're listening still, that really really ties back, Yuli, to what we mentioned. You'd asked the question about what separates a Northwood student. It's their ability to play. We put those students in realistic professional experiences
Environments.
as
Yeah.
a student. It's a laboratory where
Yeah.
they'll go work with companies like Reynolds and Reynolds and work their booth. I heard you mention it, NADA. We'll have 20 to 30 students from Northwood University as part of their experiential learning will fly to NADA at Las Vegas and be a part of the show, right? Working with NADA, Reynolds and Reynolds, CDK Global, the retailers, all the above, just to get that experience. And that's where that network continues to build and grow, right? The Brett Sutherlands of the world, the Dick Garbers of the world, the Jay Feldmans of the world. That's our unmatched automotive retail network. And as I piggy it back to this education side, this automotive MBA that we've talked about, we're building the bridge, as you all know, and how that aftermarket industry is converging with retail, with a number of these dealership locations having parts and service departments and collision departments and all the above. That's the real secret sauce with success, being able to share best practices or even horror stories about what they can avoid because of the scar tissue that a lot of these leaders have developed. And that, good or bad, right? Everything's not sunshine and rainbows on Black Friday, right? Some of us have taken it in the year a few times, but those are things where the power of network and being together can grow.
So, Matt Bennett, last question on this Black Friday. Is there anything, you know, you've got exposure to all these dealers, students that are going into the business. Is there one trend or is there a trend that you see emerging in automotive that dealers might want to think about and consider as they think about 2026 and preparing for this next year?
Oh, man, that's a great question. And I can tell you honestly, we had 100 companies on campus just a few weeks ago for our career fair. And I can tell you nearly 40 to 50% of those organizations on this campus were automotive related. And I can tell you the trend is a student or an individual's ability to interact with others is by far an unmatched skill set. The ability to look people in the eye, the ability to shake a hand, and believe it or not, that skill set of personal responsibility that nobody likes to talk about anymore. But it's one of our mantras here at Northwood, right? Where we believe in free enterprise, personal responsibility. Capitalism is still not a dirty word on our campus. It's actually embraced. Our kids want to work. Our adults want to work. But that's where training and education, you even heard Nolan earlier, is also that second element that we see and are hearing more of. How do we continue to sharpen the saw? And being a partner at Northwood with us gives you an unmatched competitive advantage because we build programming to meet your needs. And then we have our own that we can apply based on our years of experience in engaging with the world's best.
Well, it's great. That's an interesting trend to watch for. And I think I see that in my role here at the Ziegler Auto Group, seeing that, you know, those in automotive who win understand how to relate to others, understand how to hold people accountable, understand how to your point, look people in the eye, have a phone conversation. And we would assume those are all givens, but it's not. Like there is an advantage. Actually, so as a one quick follow-up along that line, what advice would you give to kids wanting to get into automotive? And maybe they can't go to Northwood. They're just looking to get in. How could I educate myself on some of those things you identified today if I want to get into automotive today or in the coming year and win and succeed?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I am a little biased, right? I bleed blue. And then I would say if you cut me off, there's some oil there. But I would tell any young person or parent out there, if your son or daughter or a friend or relative has been bitten by that automotive bug, regardless of what you think financials are, I would give Northwood a look. You know, visit us at northwood.edu. If to your point, it just doesn't work, and believe me, we will find ways, just like we'd find a lease payment for you in auto.
I like that.
We find something for you that meets your financial situation. We make it work. But if not, get involved. As just you mentioned Mike Cavanaugh, he's got folks who come in and they wash cars, or they just come in and learn the business. I have a young man who is in Huntington Beach, California, who raised the question and said, Dr. Bennett, I live right next to a Brett Sutherland dealership. Could I learn more about it? And of course, you try to connect these people with people who are in the industry so they can see what life might be like. Getting them an opportunity to shadow or mentor is tremendous, because then you get to see what it's really like and what a little bit of grind and hustle can lead to. And this ecosystem is unmatched, as you know, this industry, and being a part of it from an academic standpoint, just being able to be that proverbial Switzerland is awesome. And we get to really connect a lot of dots.
Well, Matt Bennett, Vice President Enrollment and Strategic Alliances, Northwood University, thank you for joining us on this Black Friday, pivoting between gratitude for education and go out and buy it of Black Friday. Appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
All right, Yuli, we're back Monday. You'll have no beard then. You'll have no mustache.
I will be clean shaven.
Gone. Yeah. What was your favorite food? Did you eat anything yesterday? Thanksgiving? Any great food?
I had a lot of great food yesterday. I would say my favorite Thanksgiving food would probably be a toss-up between a really nice mashed potato or a sweet potato pie. What about you?
Okay, very good. I was at an Italian place and did still turkey, gravy, a little pasta dish, a little I forget what the other. There was like a third thing, but the good old. I love just the good old homegrown turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy.
It's always better the next day.
Once a year, right? What I did not have yesterday was pie, and I usually love pie, though. I think I may be able to find a pie. So, but anyway, happy Black Friday, everybody. Crush it today. I hope everybody just wins across our Ziegler Auto Group, all 41 stores. Our teams are working hard to put together an incredible close to the month. So best of luck and success to each of them. And to our loyal listening audience, thanks for watching Daily Deal Live, where we break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen. Don't forget, we're live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which means we're back this Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. So if this is your world, Automotive, hit like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never, ever miss a beat. And we'll see you next episode, everybody.
Thanks, guys.